When you take off the bark, you kind of discover this world of anarchic, wild, chaotic growth. My practice pretty much revolves around only two trees these days, horse chestnut burr and sequoia grown in Britain. They're trees that have been felled due to disease or decay. It's important to me that they were grown here and there has not been a massive carbon footprint to get them here. Wood itself as a material or trees were part of my childhood. I grew up in a very rural part of Wales. So I collected lots of pieces of wood. At school, I was interested in woodwork. I wanted to do woodwork, but it was in the days when girls weren't allowed to do woodwork. So I became a teacher, and I think when I was about 35, maybe, I retrained as a cabinet maker. And I just became frustrated by the fact that I ended up cutting off what I found to be the most interesting parts of a piece of wood, you know, the kind of woodwormed or decayed or rotting, interesting pieces. I started making work myself, and I built a shed in my garden, and I just started making more kind of creative sculptural pieces, moved away from function per se. I think creating anything is a constant solving of problems of, you know, how are you going to get off bark that is lodged through a very tiny fissure, but there's bark in there and you can't bleach something if you've left bark in. You know, I've used jewellery tools and dentist tools and wig makers' pins. Some things you discover by accident. When I was working with sequoia the first time, hollowing it out through a very small hole. And when I was holding a gouge, and then I have wet sequoia, I realised my hands are black. Sequoia is full of tannin. Tannin and moisture and metal makes black. So then, since then, obviously, I've played around with that idea, and I make my own iron solution now with boiling nails or boiling steel wool in vinegar and using those properties of that wood to make new work. The pandemic or COVID was a strange time for me, like everybody else. But in terms of work, I mean, I was working on pieces for my solo show. And so even though it was very strange here, it was also, for me, it was quite a productive time. There's a very large bowl that is coming to Masterpiece that I made during that time, and I called it the homage bowl. It was a strange time where we were nightly thinking about people working in horrendous jobs and really difficult situations and dreadful things happening, and I was just here with a pile of trees.